Yeah, they're obviously like the affair is what was like the catalyst for their marriage going so rocky. And I'm sure that we are all like on the same page that he should not have done that, and she's totally justified in being mad.
Angry. Yeah.
But why is he upset? Like, we kind of feel like he doesn't have a right to be because he's the one that messed up, but he definitely is like struggling to be nice to Elizabeth and to like, it's still tense on both sides. So like, what's his argument?
Trying to move on from it because he made one bad move, in which I can understand. Like he just made a dumb movie. Just like I'm owning up to it. I'm gonna live with this. And
Yeah.
she mentioned it.
Well, he
For you
shouldn't
to
have
go
really done
through
it though.
all of the movements and still make that mistake. I bet he had like a good 2 hours to think on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
This seems like
Let's
it was
just-
premeditated, if we're really being
Exactly.
honest.
Let's just wrap it up as what it is.
And it's
Nailed
hard
on
to,
to
I don't actually know if
necessity.
it was like, was it one time? Did they have an ongoing thing for a little bit? We don't actually.
They had to have had an ongoing thing. The way they were talking to each other, oh my gosh.
It had
It
to
was like
be
a one-time.
one-time thing that either she was still trying to do or like it happened a few times.
Let's be honest, okay? There's no way that she was just like, oh my god, one time thing, I love you now. There's no that had in the
Yeah.
if it was a one
It
time
had
thing
to
and
be
she was like
a
that,
lot.
he wouldn't have been like that towards her. So it had to have
Oh,
been a
wait.
multiple time thing because he wouldn't have felt the same way if it was just a one time thing.
Yeah,
There.
because something like a one-time thing, people will like, oh, I actually like this person.
Yeah, but that's usually on a woman's part. But since he felt the same way towards her and was like, well, I don't want to do this, but you know, I still love you, boo. Like, that was a multiple
I didn't
time.
get that. I didn't get that feeling from him. But I think he was like a one-time thing, like, oh crap, I made the mistake, I gotta live with this now. He said, okay, one time I'm leaving.
It's kind of hard to know. He obviously does like really regret it and feel like he made a mistake, but it doesn't actually tell us how long this went on, if it was one time or more than that. And I get both sides. I get what both of y'all are saying. Like, he does seem to like really want to cut it off, although sometimes affairs can go on for a while and people just like really regret it and decide to stop it and move on. So maybe it went on for longer. She certainly did like get really attached if it was a one-time deal, but
she
also know that like,
and she like by what we know, like she was threatening to kill her own sister. Like, I don't think that was just like a one-time situation. She's crazy. She's not just gonna like
crazy.
That's too much for her to just
I
go
don't know.
back one time, you know?
This is like a real Fatal Attraction type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I think that one-time affair was like her taste of freedom. Because think about it. You're in a religion where there's strict moral values.
On
If I was her, I would
adultery.
be sick of it.
There are strict values on adultery in the Bible. Like, and you're gonna come on. It was not just a one-time thing. If we look at all of the facts and what we know so far about them, this is not a one-time thing. And he said that he was in a room with that one woman for just a second by himself with her. But like, come on, there's no possible way.
He had to be like thinking about this before like it happened, like for a good few months at least.
Right?
It's adultery, so he was like, I don't want to get sent to hell. And then I guess it just wasn't important enough because men have no values.
It just happened.
Oh, don't forget, John Proctor didn't care less about the religion itself.
Exactly. Exactly. So it was a multiple time thing.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because Reverend Hale shows up at his house to be like, hey, your wife is being accused of witchcraft, and I kind of need you to prove that she isn't involved in anything like that. And they kind of lay into both of them because they haven't been to church in a long time. I mean, they kind of started staying home when she got sick, but then they never went back. They haven't even had their youngest child baptized. And Hale really kind of gets on to them about it. But what's their reasoning for not going to church?
Too sick. Too sick. Too sick at home.
No, see, that's just one of them. The other reason is they're getting tired of hearing the same old thing of, if you don't do this, you go to hell. You don't do this, you go to hell.
Ask for
You
a
do this,
reason.
you go to hell.
Yeah,
They're
but
getting tired of hearing
will
that.
the priest do that?
I mean,
I didn't
Yeah.
hear what Alexa said.
I said, yeah, but are they going to tell those priests, like, yeah, we're just sick and tired of hearing you preach every single week? Like,
No, you're getting tired of hearing the same old preaching. I'm like, oh, you talk about like, hey, hell is a forbidden, hell is just crappy, but if you try to do this, you might go to heaven. Or some crap, but they're tired of hearing the same old thing.
you,
They are, and not even just that. It's not like they are anti-religion at this point, but more than anything else, they kind of mentioned to Hale that they don't think Paris is a very good priest. They think that he is like too self-righteous, and like they don't really think that he's actually that holy of a person, which from what we know about him, he is like pretty materialistic. He's pretty power hungry. So like they're probably not wrong. He strikes me as the type of preacher who sees every sermon as like a performance, and he's trying to maybe not necessarily entertain, but like get people to think he's awesome through the way he delivers his sermon. And they just don't like it. They don't like him. They don't think he's a very good pastor, and so they don't really want to go back because they don't want to go to him. And in fact, they even say the reason they haven't had their youngest child baptized is because they kind of wanted somebody better than Paris to be the one to do it.
well, that's a fair judgment.
Yeah.
I feel like that's fair judgment, but that shouldn't be coming from somebody who had an affair with a woman for multiple times on it. I'm just saying.
No,
I don't know that he can be too choosy.
Right? And then get mad at your wife because she's mad at you for having an affair, or thinking because you probably didn't do it, but let's just say that you did, because we all know you did, sleep with a new lady. Like, come on. I don't think you should have the right to be like, oh.
Right. She's just like,
yeah, I feel like he has the right. Yeah, he made like a crappy decision, but he still can make a better decision. Doesn't matter like how many bad decisions you can make a better one.
that's true.
So he does have
I
the
feel
right
like
to speak.
he's trying to make better ones now. He's trying to make amends for what he did. And like just playing devil's advocate for a minute, like she's not really giving him much of a choice. Like she says she's forgiven him, but it's clear that she hasn't really.
Well, and I don't think she should give him a choice because he shouldn't have been sleeping with Abigail in the first place. If you're really faithful in a marriage, you wouldn't cheat. And if you didn't love your wife, you should just leave her. Like that's
No, don't
that's
forget,
what
they don't believe in divorce.
yeah, they don't, like, the only reason that they think that, like, people should get divorced back then is, like,
but
they
if
literally didn't even have a reason. If somebody was found of adultery, specifically a woman, she would just be killed and the problem would be solved.
okay then.
In
Why not just convict her of being a witch if you didn't want to be with her anymore? Like, aren't we living in those times? Aren't we in this time right this second? Just be like,
I
hey,
mean, I think that's what he's
Yeah,
doing.
divorce is a problem in itself. When you do a divorce, yes, you're free from each other, but let's say you have kids. Your kids have to deal with that.
wouldn't the kids go with the mother though
No.
in that time, or would they just be on their own?
Well, they usually go to the parents.
No, they would get a governess.
A governess.
Okay.
I genuinely like. I don't think in like Puritan New England, I don't think people were getting divorced. Like if they had issues, they would just stay in an unhappy marriage because a lot of people, especially then, viewed divorce as a sin in itself. So like if you were getting divorced because of a sin, you're just committing another sin. Some people still think this, by the way. Like I've been to churches where like they won't let divorced people serve on committees or like serve in leadership positions. I've heard people say they think divorce is a sin, and I'm like, is it more of a? I mean, like, does God really not want you to be free of an unhappy situation? I don't know.
I feel like what they're trying to teach you is you make, if you want to marry this person, you're committed to this person, but you need to know them before you make that tough decision. That's
Yeah.
what they're trying to teach them.
Well,
And-
I feel like
And also, like, back then, people didn't really have the same options for like getting to know each other that we did. I mean, we don't know if it was. It's not like they had arranged marriages at that time, but like, it's possible that they thought, oh, this is an advantageous marriage for both of us. Like, if you have land or if you would be a good mother, that's a good reason to get married. And like, honestly, Elizabeth is not painted as like a great loving wife. She's like, he tells her she's very cold and like unforgiving. She's very like morally strict. She's kind of like the opposite of that
on her. If I think we don't know what it was, as far as I know, I don't think we know what happened before their marriage because I don't remember them ever talking about it yet.
Yeah, we
could
don't.
happen later, but I bet she wasn't as cold to him, towards him if he didn't cheat on her. Like it's something different. I think it's something different because in this position, does the maid live with them or does she like live on her own?
She lives on her own.
Okay. So if this woman is in their house constantly and you're paying her, I don't even think they're paying her, but like if you're around them and all the time and then your husband, the person you were married in the eyes of God with, sleeps with that woman, I think you have the right to be like angry towards him. And plus you can't get a divorce. That's what y'all are explaining to me. If you can't get a divorce because it's a sin, she has a little bit of a right to be like angry and cold towards him just because of that situation, because she can't leave him and she can't leave him for the kids. So I don't know. That's just me.
But
Right,
since the society, it's one of those things where even if you're mad, they're still gonna be like, well, I don't know what you want me to say because I apologized.
Totally open to that. He should have a right. They both have the right to feel some way towards each other. He has a right to be mad, and he has the right to be like, why are you still mad? It happened 6 months ago. Calm down. It's not that serious. Like, but we also have to take in consideration this is what happened. We have to think about that, like.
Right. So I can see that.
Didn't deal with things the way that we would now. It's just so different.
Hey, Nelson.
Oh my God. Get the crap out of me.
Morning.
Hey, yeah, I can see that. I can understand why she'll be mad, but think about it. Society's crappy, and you can't get a divorce, and you have to learn to just get used to it. Like, okay, my crappy husband, I can't get a divorce. All I can do is teach my kid to be better than him.
Well, then he should get used to her being angry 24/7 because he slept with the maid.
To be honest, though, I'm just saying, I'd pop 3 of his tires.
See?
Okay,
Listen,
what about the whole Eastern and
and
Western
wagon would have to lose the
time
wheel.
period?
To be honest, insurance would not be covering it either.
Wait, what? I missed what
I'm gonna have to break his candlelight. I'm just saying, like, it
I said,
have to go down.
I was like,
Yeah, I
well,
think
if somebody cheats on me, I'm gonna pop 3 of their tires. Because if you only pop 3 of their tires,
Insurance won't pay for it.
Insurance covers it, so you pop 3. And then I put bologna on the paint job, a banana in the exhaust pipe, in the gas tank.
Okay, Alexis. Okay,
talking
Alexis. Calm down.
Dude,
Good question.
LeBron.
The Eastern and Western law during that time period, what was it like again?
The Eastern and Western world?
laws
Oh, what do you
for
mean?
marriages.
What were the
Would it-
laws?
Yeah,
It
for the
was in the
marriages.
eyes of
Would it be
God. I
different?
think that was the main premise of it. The eyes of
Oh,
God.
like would Eastern customs be different than ours?
Yeah.
I'm sure that they would be. I don't really know much about what was going on in the Eastern world during that time, but I mean, like, arranged marriages have been a thing in the East for a very, very long time.
Y'all don't have In-N-Out, and we don't have Cookout.
And they didn't have like Puritans were exclusively Americans. Like there may be some people in England who had like puritanical values, but Puritans are us. And obviously, you know, that the fact that we were so religious, like religion oriented, played a huge role in all of that because there was no separation of church and state at that point.
I would just like to say I love Cece's fit.
Hey, next question.
Okay, well, let's talk for a second about when Hale comes to visit them and is talking about how they haven't been to church and like kind of trying to accuse both of them. I love that scene because there's so much being said like between the lines, but there's the part where like he asks them about their faith and he asks them if they know their commandments. And what's the one John can't remember?
Adultery?
Adultery, yes.
She remember all the other commandments, but except for the most important.
Yeah, you would think, and I love it that his wife is like, dude, you're
his wife probably snapped her head so fast, she probably like looked at him and was like,
really? The one
like he was probably just sitting in the room with him, just being like,
I know.
But we aren't really surprised though, right? Like, are we surprised or are we?
No, not really. But I just kind of love that irony. And the whole time John is like trying to kind of save face and say things to Hale that are not going to make him look bad, but he's having a hard time with it because like he doesn't like Paris. He doesn't feel like he can just outright say that, but he doesn't like Paris. He's like, they question both of them on whether they actually believe in witches or not. And like, you can tell they kind of don't, but they don't feel okay saying that because like witches are in the Bible. And that's kind of John's argument. He's like, I mean, I have a hard time believing that witchcraft is real, but if it says it in the Bible, then it must be true. Elizabeth, on the other hand, Elizabeth is like known in town for never lying. That's her thing. She's like never told a lie. She will not lie for anyone. Everybody knows she's an honest woman. But she says, if you think I'm a witch, then witches must not exist because there's no way I'm a witch.
Period.
And so you're saying that witchcraft doesn't exist? And she's like, I'm saying if you think I'm a witch, then no, they don't, because I know that I'm a good, honest, upstanding woman. And if you think that someone like me could be a witch, then they don't exist.
Period.
Yeah.
Like was raising her hand.
I don't know how to raise my hand in Zoom, so like I just like sit here like.
You look like a little shadow creature. Yes, Alexis.
Okay. I did like a huge report I did like a giant essay about the Salem witch trials for my thing that changed the world for Miss Petty last year.
Full lunch, don't worry about it.
And okay, so basically the reason why they thought like in their religion, like there were two towns of Salem. There was like Salem and then there was the one by the harbor, and they associated all of the people by the harbor to be like, because they're merchants and dealers and live on the high seas and whatever, so they don't have like a great track record. And so they're all like, oh, they're like devils, they're demons. And then like in their village, they're like, if you don't believe in witchcraft, you're obviously a witch sent by the devil. And since you don't believe in it, you're a witch because it says in the Bible and we believe everything in the Bible. So if she was living outside of town, because that's what they said that she was living outside of town, and those were all of the accused. They were all living outside of town, or like on the outskirts, or like people that you would like think could be sus.
Yeah.
Leave my air quotes alone. But yeah, so that's basically the whole thing.
Yeah, people who are kind of like on the outskirts or like not in the main part of the village. It's definitely like a bit of a social thing. Like,
It's also one of those things where like if you were one of the people that were like, well, no, they can't, like, the merchants can't be good, bad people. Like, I go and buy stuff from them all the time. They're sweet little old ladies. They'll be like, you're a witch because you're associating with merchants and they're the devil.
Makes sense.
People-
Association always.
excuse, you know? Any excuse to call somebody a witch.
It
What's
it
the
makes
last-
sense.
Oh, okay. So the last thing I want to talk about before we do the assignment for today is Mary Warren, who is the girl that works for them now. I don't remember if it actually says how old she is, but we get the impression that she is a little younger than Abigail was.
And how old is Abigail?
Abigail is like an older teenager. I think they said at some point that there was like a 20-year difference between her and John Proctor.
Oh, wow, that's a large difference.
I might try to Google that real quick because I feel like I
Ooh.
might be making that up. How old were Abigail Williams and John Proctor?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, for Abigail, I got the impression of at least about an 18-year-old to a 19-year-old.
Girl, I bet she's gonna be 14.
I feel like she's 16.
Oh, okay. In the
That's
play,
15.
she's 17 and Proctor is in his 30s. In real life, oh God. In real life, it's worse. It's so much
Hey,
worse.
Miss McClellan, what was it?
John Proctor was about 60 and Abigail Williams was like 11 or 12.
Whoa.
What did I say?
Hey, yo.
Ophelia, come on.
Even Zane's showing up for this one. That means you know it's messed up.
Trying to see like how much of this is
This is Chick-fil-A.
like how much of this is actually true to life because I really don't know. Like they were real people, but I don't know how much of their relationship was taken like
I think to make us feel better, I think we should be like he was 30 and she was 17. I think that
Yeah,
would
let's
be
stick
a
with
little
that
bit
numbers.
better than
Would
rather
that really
being
make us feel
60
better
and
though?
her
Like,
being.
let's be honest.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Like neither is really good, but I just feel like that would make it a little.
I'm just gonna say she's 18 and he's 27 because that sounds more realistic.
Yeah, I
I'll
like that
live with
one.
the 17 and
But,
30
like-
instead of the 12 and 60.
Yeah, that one.
I think like I'm just kind of skimming stuff, but I think in real life they didn't actually have an affair, which makes me feel better. She was like his primary accuser. But I think that it actually says in the historical record there's no evidence of John Proctor and Abigail Williams ever meeting before the trials. So all of this is kind of made up for the play.
Dramatic exaggeration.
That makes me feel better.
I don't know. I think
Well, I
this way
can't-
gives
I
it
can't
more
be-
juice.
Girl, now the scary ones. Look up the difference between him and his wife.
Yeah.
How old were
Okay, so we're not talking about the questions anymore.
We are, but this is important.
Okay. Don't we have our own Googles and websites we can look up?
No, we don't. We all share the same one.
We're all talking about it right now, so why not?
Okay, I must be the crazy one here.
You
All
are.
right. Cece.
You're welcome.
I'm not able to see how old they were. In real life, they had 6 children together rather than 3.
Yeesh.
Which that
Man.
wasn't super uncommon either. People had big families, and also there was no birth control. So
Yeesh, man.
dude.
Say a week pull-out game. God dang.
yeah.
I went to church this Sunday, and they like when I was living here, there was this family who had 11 kids,
I
and
can't
now
fathom
they
that.
have like 16.
Someone
You know what?
here is one of like 10 kids, and I can't think of who it was. You, I think
You
it's
know
a
what?
picture.
I clap my hands for the wife and the husband.
16 kids. Meow.
Jeez,
Like, you gotta respect the wife.
That what?
I feel bad for her
I
Oh yeah, what's
Yeah.
the difference between the wife and her?
Yeah, seriously.
because did cesarean.
It smells like Carl's Jr.
I don't think they existed.
They probably
see.
had some version of
I don't think
Yeah,
they.
clap your hands for the husband and the wife. They both have to put in the work.
I don't anticipate that a woman would survive one, but they might.
Did you
They might.
birth people? No.
No,
My husband gets a
she
clap.
did.
Especially when he wasn't even in the room when it was born. No husband gets a clap.
Okay, so Mary
Especially with terrible
Warren
husbands.
for a second, who I think was supposed to be a little bit younger than, good Lord, than Abigail. And there isn't any evidence that like John is interested in her. It's just a matter of like Elizabeth is still feeling kind of insecure about that. But at the end of Act 2, we kind of find out that there's been some, like, Abigail's been kind of plotting, and we start to realize that because Mary Warren comes and gives Elizabeth a poppet, which is like a little doll that she made in court that day. And then when Hale and like a whole bunch of other people show up to their house at the inn, they're like, "Oh, pop it here." And at first she says no because she forgot about it. And they're like, well, I see a poppet right there. So are you lying? And Elizabeth is like, no, I'm not lying. I just forgot that Mary Warren gave me this thing today. And the reason that they're asking about that is because Abigail today, like, fell down while she was having dinner at the preacher's house. And when they realized what was going on, she like had a 2-inch needle stuck in her stomach. And she was like, "Oh God, someone's done this to me. I think it was Goody Proctor. I bet she has a poppet in her house," which like is basically being used as a voodoo doll.
Wow, she framed. That's crazy.
If we look at the facts though, like Mary Warren comes in at the end and she's being questioned about the poppet, and she's like, "Oh, I made that in court today." And they were like, you didn't plant this, or like, you're not lying for Elizabeth, like this didn't already belong to Elizabeth. And she's like, "No, you can ask Abigail. She was sitting right beside me when I made it." And so like Abigail knew that she was making this thing for Elizabeth, and just kind of came up with this whole thing. We're assuming that she's like, "Oh, well, if she's going to give her this doll, I'm going to make it look like she's guilty of trying to hurt me." She plotted this whole thing.
Fake friends, fakes, friends, snakes, all fake stands, everything.
Yeah.
Just fake,
Hey.
fake.
Clever woman.
It could also, what'd you say?
Nuh-uh. Don't say that. Do not say that. That makes you sound toxic, LeBron. Do not say that, because not every woman does that. That is so. I apologize
Fine.
for that comment, because that was very offensive.
To whom?
To me, I want you to apologize.
I will not.
We're not all underhanded. Not
Hey,
like
all I said was
Abigail.
clever girl. That's
No,
it.
you didn't. You said every woman. That's exactly.
No,
what
I
you
didn't
said.
say everyone. I said
No, you-
clever woman.
No, you didn't. You said every woman.
Yes, the freak I did, Cece.
I
Okay.
thought that you said every woman too. If you didn't, fine. Or like just like a woman or something like that. But
Nope.
she's definitely like super underhanded, and devious.
oops.
And like all this could also result in her friend Mary getting in trouble too. She doesn't seem to care. And so like Mary at the end is kind of conflicted because she has actually told John Proctor that none of this has anything to do with witchcraft. And he's like, you need to go tell people. And she doesn't want to get Abigail in trouble. So she's just very conflicted about what to do and like what's the right thing to do. Whose like side should she be on?
She's a real G. She's a real one.
And she also, yeah, she is. I like Mary Warren. And she has a hard time because she's sort of like, do I go with my friend? Do I like stand up to John Proctor, who is my employer, by the way? Not always an easy person to stand up to. But she has to do, hopefully, what she thinks is right. But the young women in this town are not necessarily known for that. Okay, so that leads us into the assignment, which we don't have a whole long time to work on, but that's okay because it's not actually due today. So like I mentioned, Wednesday, we won't do our normal thing because you guys will be taking the PSAT, which I might have more information about that tomorrow because I have a meeting about it this afternoon. But I'm publishing this right now. Or I'm trying to. This is due in class tomorrow, but if you look at it, it's called Unjust Accusations Discussion Post. And you're doing this like the regular Wednesday discussion post kind of setup and answering these two things. And these are more like personal rather than necessarily like analysis. But the first thing is that Mary Warren, as we saw, is forced to stand up to her employer, John Proctor, at the end of Act 2, right about a time when you felt like you had to stand up to an authority figure. Why did you feel that way? Did you act on your feelings? Why or why not? So if you've never stood up to an authority figure, you can just talk about a time where you felt like you should, but chose not to. And then the second thing is lots of women in Salem are being accused of witchcraft, and some of the townspeople are sure they're innocent, like Elizabeth. So right about a time you or someone you know was accused of something that you or they did not do, how did you react and how was the issue resolved? So this is all just kind of tying back in because these are like, even though there are no witch hunts nowadays or trials, there are still some very relevant themes and things that we can connect to. So you're just writing those, you're answering those two. Make sure that you look at the Wednesday discussion post criteria. If you don't remember them, even though today's not a Wednesday, we're still doing it as if it were. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I think, let me quickly take a look at gradebook. Maybe that doesn't apply to this class, actually, now that I'm looking. You can't get on Power School? I thought there was something that I chose not to grade because I didn't want it to be on your progress report, but I guess not. The Act 1, you have kind of a lot due today. This is due before class tomorrow. You know what, actually, just to be nice, I'll make it due at the end of tomorrow, like 11:59. Let me change that. PM. Okay, because you have your Act 1 sheets due today, which are the conflicts and the predictions. So any questions about any of this before we go?
Nope.
All right, well then I'm gonna end the call. You can, for the next few minutes, you can just be working on your discussion posts or getting your Act 1 stuff done. And I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, later.